Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from today. I'm Megan Wood, Director of Recruitment and Admissions in the University at Buffalo School of Management, and we appreciate your interest in the UB MS in Management Information Systems program. So we appreciate you taking the time to join us today. Faculty Director, Professor Kevin Cleary, is going to be sharing a lot of wonderful details and highlights about the MS-MIS program. And this session is really intended for students interested in the MS-MIS program. Many of you submitted questions during the registration process, and we really appreciate you taking the time to do so. We'll cover those during today's session before we open it up for other questions. But if you have additional questions, please type any that you have in the chat, and we'll address them during the session or at the very end. I really encourage you to focus on Professor Cleary's presentation. There's a lot of wonderful information he's going to be sharing. So you really want to focus on what he's saying, and we'll be sure to leave some time for questions at the end. Today's webinar is being recorded, and we'll share the recording in about 1 week so that you can review it and share it with any friends or colleagues who may be interested in the MS-MIS program as well. So as we get started, I want to start with a few common questions that were submitted during the chat. First of all, students have asked, is the GMAT or GRE required? No, the UB School of Management uses a test optional admissions process. So you may upload a GMAT or GRE score report to your application, but you're not required to do so. If you've taken the GMAT or GRE and you have a strong score, you can absolutely upload it. If you've taken it and it's a weak score, you may not want to upload it, but it's not required. The GMAT or GRE, they're not required for admissions consideration. Students also asked how long the program is and when do classes begin. The MS and MIS program is 11 months in length and was designed to be 11 months in length. The program begins in the summer with classes beginning in early July, and students graduate the following May. The program is full-time in residence, and students take 6 credits in the summer, 12 credits in the fall, 12 credits in the spring. And Professor Cleary will go into a lot more detail regarding the curriculum. Students have asked if the program is STEM. Absolutely. The MS-MIS program is STEM designated, which provides an additional 24 months of optional practicum training, also known as OPT. So for a STEM designated program, you get a total of 36 months of OPT. Students also submitted questions about course prerequisites and if work experience is required for the program. No, there are not course prerequisites that are required, and work experience is not required to apply. But at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Professor Cleary to provide more detail on what a competitive applicant brings to the program. Professor Cleary?
Thanks, Meg. I appreciate it. Can I just get a screen check that my slides look okay? Great.
Yes.
So a question I get a lot, or a concern I get a lot from students. First of all, welcome everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. If you're anywhere in the Eastern Hemisphere or on the East Coast of the United States, it's a lovely, snowy, blustery morning here. A question I get and a concern I get a lot from students is, do I have enough experience? Are my educational credentials good enough? Do I need to be more technical, to be successful in this program? And the answer is no. And when we look at the typical MIS student, what the MIS program really is meant to do is we have students that come in with a lot of technical experience. You have backgrounds in engineering, computer science, software development, some of the hard sciences. But then we also have a growing cadre of students where you have that managerial experience, you have that leadership experience, you have that experience in kind of shepherding innovation, but you're lacking the technical piece. And so really what the program is meant to do is meet in the middle at the end of the day. And, really what we're looking to do is we're looking to build students that are going to be taking on some kind of a leadership or innovation or driving role, leveraging technology, emerging technology, new technology as your toolbox of skill sets at the end of the day. And so I don't want students to feel like, well, I don't have programming experience, so I'm not sure how well I'll do. Don't worry about that. We will teach you the technical pieces. And if you're coming in with a good depth of technical experience, we will teach you the managerial pieces. You will see in a little bit that we have a good depth, a healthy portfolio of electives to help you kind of chart out what path or what journey works best for you. And just to kind of give you guys a snapshot of what the present year's class looks like. In terms of the number of countries represented, in terms of some of the demographic breakdowns, And in terms of, some of the backgrounds that students were coming in with our word cloud here, some of the backgrounds students came in with prior to entering the program. We consider applicants holistically. So we look at a bunch of things. I'm not just sorting an Excel spreadsheet based on GPA and passing those names through. I'm looking at applications and I'm looking at what does your job experience look like? What does your educational record look like? Um, we're looking at things like even your cover letter. And by the way, we're looking to see if your cover letter is being chat GPT generated or if you're putting a little bit of yourself into that. And so we look at a lot of different things to bring students on board. Don't worry that if your GPA is super low, you won't be considered because we're looking holistically at a bunch of things, but it does include GPA and years of work experience. We look at your resume and, we just kind of look at what the story is that you have to tell at the end of the day. Now, I want to make sure that students, you guys know what you're walking into at the end of the day. The MIS program here at the University at Buffalo, we're selective. We're not a diploma mill, and we're about more than just grades at the end of the day. When we graduate a student, we want a student to be well-rounded in many professional areas. You're not just sitting in a classroom taking a bunch of classes and leaving. When we think about the culture of UB's Masters in Management Information Systems program, students sit at the intersection of, yes, we want you to be strong academically, but we also need you to be strong professionals. We also need you to have a strong sense of integrity. Because at the end of the day, look, employers are going to want to hear a lot more than, yeah, I sat in a classroom and the teacher wrote a bunch of stuff on the dry erase board. Part of how we structure this program is to be experiential, to give you extracurricular opportunities, to give you, and we're going to talk in a little bit about some of the experiential type components that we have of the program. But all these things come together to make a good program. It's not just a program that's focused on grades. And we, like I said, not everybody gets admitted. We are selective and we do admit that, we do look to the strongest students to maintain the strong placement of the program and the strong reputation of the program at the end of the day. So the program you're going to be walking into, and Megan kind of touched upon this a little. We do have a summer start. So over the summer, you will have 2 electives that you will have the option to take. And what we do is we kind of ease you into the program with that. And, the few fun things with the summer. One is, not a lot of students, when students start in the fall semester, you have about a month and a half of nice weather, and then things start to turn. The nice thing about being here over the summer is you truly get to experience the city. You get to the city of Buffalo. You get to experience some of the, the beautiful weather that we do have, despite our reputation. And it's just a nice, easy lead up, a good pace into the full blown semester. You're going to be in the classroom just as many hours over the summer as you will be during the fall, even though it's half the amount of classes, because we're on a bit of an accelerated timeline for those classes. So you will be able to sign up for 2 electives over the summer. That's the official start. You will have, then once we get into the fall semester, you will have 3 classes. You will have, you'll have 4 classes, one of which will be your core statistics class, and then you will get to choose 3 electives. Now, another element of the program is our capstone requirement. And the capstone requirement there, again, you have options. Those options are you either do a 1-credit certification over the winter term, or if you decide instead you want to do an internship, you can do that again for 1 credit, and that is over the second summer. So what that does is it actually extends your graduation date out to August. And that has some implications, some positive implications, especially if you're here on CPT or for international students. And that's an entirely different conversation that we can have separately. But I just want you guys to know there are options here. Most students do choose to go with the certification credit. We have a catalog of about 60 different professional certifications that students can choose from. So that's typically how you spend the winter term, that winter intersession. And then in the spring semester, you're going to take your second core, which is MGS 607, Technology and Innovation Management. And then there again, you have 3 different electives to choose from. Now, speaking on electives a little bit, like I kind of said, the good news is we have a lot of electives. The bad news is we have a lot of electives. And so when we look at the full list of electives, it can kind of be overwhelming in terms of how we navigate it. And, and we have a team, we have staff available to kind of help you navigate this process. But one of the things we typically look at the end of the day is we use this term a lot, your journey, okay, as you're kind of navigating your way through the program. Because for a lot of you, it will be a journey. It's going to take unexpected twists and turns. You're going to learn new things along the way. I can't tell you how many times I've had students say, well, geez, I took this class and now I really, really love this topic. And so, now what does this do for my journey? And so when you're kind of deciding what electives to take, we will help you on that journey. But at the end of the day, it is your journey and you get to pick a set of electives that makes sense for you. We realize that a real heavy influencing factor is what alums that have graduated before you have said. Oh, take this class, take that class. This teacher is good and that teacher is good. And it's good to get that advice. But what I will caution everybody on is, one, everyone's opinion is different. And the quality of a class is subjective in terms of the alum's opinion. But the bigger thing is classes morph, classes evolve, classes change, as does the program. If I were to show, and I actually just hit this a few weeks ago, I ran into an alum in the hallway. He was actually walking around, a prospective student. We were talking a little bit. And I showed them, the list of electives. I showed them the class structure, and they said, "Oh my God, this is really different from even 4 years ago when I graduated." And part of the reason for that is you can't have a program based on technology that stands still. We are a rapidly evolving program. We're continuously churning out new electives and reinventing and refreshing present electives. And even the curricular structure looks quite different than it did 3-4 years ago. And that's because we need to change with the times. We are in a very fast moving, evolving environment and industry, especially with how disruptive generative AI has been over the past 3 years. And so we adjust to meet that challenge at the end of the day. And so when you're considering, well, what does your individual journey look like? What is your kind of turn-by-turn GPS, so to speak, through the roadmap of the MIS program? One of the things we give students to help you kind of break down, well, what package or set of electives, what portfolio of electives really makes sense for me at the end of the day? And what we did after doing, we do a lot of industry analysis, to kind of make sure that, as I said, we are keeping pace with industry demands. And so what we've done is we said, look, the biggest growing industries or the most popular areas, we've kind of grouped them into 6 different families or potential paths, if you will. And they're unofficial, so you can mix and match. But these are the paths that we kind of convey to students in terms of, look, a lot of students say they want to go into consulting or they want to do, go into business analysis. Anything that has to do with telling a story with data or making projections or prognostications into the future with data. The fancy way of saying that is data analytics. That's definitely a journey that students follow. A bit of a newer one, and again, this is just, it's the times, right? Generative AI. So we have several new electives in generative AI in delivering and deploying AI throughout the enterprise. Our statistics classes are and our predictive analytics classes are very heavily rooted in the mathematics behind the neural networks that go into generative AI predictions. Because let's not forget, large language models at the end of the day are glorified next word guessers based on mathematics. But that's a lot of what we then build into our classes. Information security, resilience, and risk. And so this is really where my area of focus is. So we look at everything from how to run an information security program, how to do audits, how to do forensics, what that governance looks like. We look at a lot of technical controls. We'll have a lot of hands-on classes for that. Product management really is a big one. And so what we said is, well, it's more than just product management. You typically have a portfolio of products you need to manage, and you typically have to kind of have a roadmap that governs that vision at the end of the day. And so that's another real big area for us as well. And then strategic enterprise technology architecture. And so really what that is for students that you want to build the technical scaffolding upon which innovation is then built atop of. That's really what strategic enterprise technology architecture is. So you're going to be studying the different kinds of hosting technologies buried within the cloud. You're going to look at different kind of on-prem technologies. You're going to look at the different kinds of software as a service options that are out there so that you can help your organizations achieve and exceed what their goals are in terms of what their technology footprint is, which is needed for any of their to achieve their visions, their goals, and to really achieve competitive advantage at the end of the day. And so when we actually look at how that plays out, this is a busy slide, right? There's a lot of stuff on the slide, but I kind of want you guys to see that. Well, depending on where your interest is, that's then how the classes might fall. Now, this isn't each one of these a distinct different class, but we see a lot of classes that kind of tend to repeat. So our cybersecurity, privacy, ethics class, that's because anyone who enters the MIS program, anyone who has a position where you handle data, whether you like it or not, you are a cybersecurity professional. You are part of a cybersecurity program. And so that's why we see certain classes overlap here. MGQ 606, which is a core, that overlaps across a lot of things. And so this is just kind of an example of how the classes kind of map to each one of these different journey areas or professional pathway areas. And then we also have a growing portfolio of different management and leadership electives. So we only see 3 here. I can tell you that's going to grow. I can tell you we probably have at least 2 more classes on deck for those that want to build out more of that managerial leadership and consulting and innovation experience at the end of the day. Like I said, we're a growing program. Each semester, I poll students to kind of see, well, where is your area of interest? What would you like to see more of? What would you like to have seen less of? And so this list of electives is tentative because we do grow, we do morph these areas as well. And I can tell you in that management and leadership space, there's at least 2 more electives that we will be adding for the coming year. Let's talk a little bit more about those certifications. So we have certifications in a lot of areas across a lot of different disciplines and industries. I'm not going to go through all of these. Once you come here and you get started, we have a full-on catalog of at least 60 certs that we provide you guys. We've been recently adding a few more in terms of generative AI. So Salesforce is catching my eye here. We just added another Salesforce AI certification. And so this is a few of what your options are when you consider professional certification. One word of warning I'll give to students: if you're considering a certification, great. Wait until you actually start the first day of class and then work on the certification. You can pass the certification literally your second day here once classes have started, and it will count towards the program. I've had a few students where they really want to get a head start on things, and so over the summer before they get here, they knock off 2 or 3 certs, but those don't count. You have to actually be here and have started the program, and then the certification you earn, provided it's on the catalog, can count towards that certification credit at the end of the day. Pivoting a little, something else I kind of want to celebrate here is we talked about, holistically what your experience is going to be when you're here. And your experience is going to be hopefully a whole lot more than just sitting in a classroom receiving instruction. One of the really important elements is, how are you able to actually reflect what you're doing on your resume? How are you able to tell that story? Something that I tell students is never waste an opportunity. Here at the university, we have all kinds of hackathons. We have all kinds of different workshop events. What you see here is from our UB Collab office powered by Blackstone Launchpad. We do all kinds of different hackathons and case competitions. So a really popular competition is the Panache competition, a business case competition. I also partner with this group every semester. We do a generative AI, what we call hackathon, to make some generative AI solutions for different things. There's a lot of entrepreneurial competitions, and so this is a good set of set aside the fact that there's actual physical rewards and reward money at the end of the day. But this is some really great hands-on experiences to have that are really awesome to celebrate in your resume and make for great stories during an interview. To that end, even within the School of Management, we have, and this is fairly new for us, we have a burgeoning project clinic. And what this is these can almost be thought of as mini on-campus internships, especially with international students. You guys are going to have some limitations in terms of when you're first here, what kind of work you can or can't pursue. The project clinic is considered on-campus work, so that gets us past any immigration issues. But it's these kind of quick sprints, to use some agile terminology here. These quick sprints of projects that give you some real-world experience. You'll be working in multifunctional teams. The projects might not necessarily always be MIS focused, but let's face it, any project can be MIS focused at the end of the day. Technology underlies pretty much everything we do. And so there's a lot of potential with these projects here, and it's a great addition to our portfolio of different experiential opportunities. Another area that's really popular is our global programs. We've had a group of students go to New York in the past semester. We've had a group of students go to New York City to visit the UN. And what they've done is they've done some work mapping some of the UN sustainability goals, again, with the underlying technology and kind of researching that. We have a group of students over the winter break going to Silicon Valley. And so there are some subsidized, not fully funded, but there are some subsidized travel opportunities. And students just really love this ability to kind of get out and see the different areas of the U.S., especially where we have a strong concentration of technology or tech hubs. Additional experiential opportunities. So we do have our ambassadorship program through Meg's office, through our admissions office. And you guys may have interacted with some of these ambassadors already, but really what that is you guys become the face of the program and you help students kind of navigate some of the same journeys that you've navigated over time. There are various research and teaching assistantships available. And a question I get from students is a lot. And in fact, I'm not monitoring the chat, but I'm willing to bet there's a lot of these questions in the chat is, will I get an assistantship? Am I guaranteed an assistantship? The answer is you're not guaranteed anything. You're not guaranteed an assistantship. These certainly are available. I right now have a grading assistant and I have a teaching assistant. Our research faculty do have a need for research assistantships, but those needs grow organically. And so, there are certainly on-campus work positions, assistantship positions available, but you will need to apply for those and you will need to kind of work for those. It's not just an automatic thing that falls in your lap. We have various kinds of poster competitions and expositions, and we'll talk about that a little bit more next slide. We have lots of different kinds of school-hosted professional conferences. We just got done with a conference called our what we were calling Glitter, our Great Lakes Technology Retreat. And we do have funding options available. Again, not full 100% funding, but we do have funding offset options available if you identify a professional conference that you think you might want to go to. We have a lot of different student clubs and organizations for you guys to pursue. At the end of the semester, we have our what we call our experiential exposition, and that's end of the year, I should say. And with that, we go through and we do these, some celebrating and some showing off through posters and through hands-on demos or pilot projects. Some of the different projects the students have worked on throughout the semester, throughout the year. A real popular class is our experiential IT class. There again, our experiential IT class, it has the word experiential in it, and it kind of follows the same school of thought as our project clinic, where you have a bunch of mini projects that you're working on, and you are the consultant at the end of the day, and you're providing some level of technology or innovation consulting. And so these are just some of the different projects we had at last year's experiential exposition. Now, a big thing on a lot of folks' mind is, what's my ROI, right? What's my return on investment at the end of the day? A key metric for us, and I know a key metric that a lot of students are looking at, is placement. And placement right now, look, everybody follows the headlines, right? And let's what are the things you're going to get from me is you're going to get absolute honesty, and we are an honest program at the end of the day. Remember back to the cultural tenets of this program, professionalism and integrity. So part of that comes a lot of maybe too much honesty from me. The tech sector has gone through some constrictions, let's say. Really what it is the tech sector has gone through some right sizing at the end of the day. Nobody in the media wants to say that, but the tech sector has gone through some right sizing at the end of the day. And so what that then means is, it looks like there's a lot of layoffs and things happening, but really what's happening is we're kind of returning to a steady state within the tech sector. But what I will say is, given where the numbers at now, layoffs and things like that, those have plateaued, and those have been plateauing for the past year. We can say that with at least even just looking at the class of 2023. The class of 2023, which went into a pretty rough job market, they still celebrated a 91% placement with some amazing salaries. Some of the salaries higher than what I make here. And so, and these are some of the placements, and we see placements across the board in big tech, not in big tech, in local companies and international companies. Now, what I am happy to say is, we don't have the numbers yet for our 2024 class, but we have a lot of the numbers. And anecdotally, when we project forward, what we can say is we're projecting right now unofficially about a 93% placement. So despite the job market having these ripples and these scary news headlines coming out, we're still projecting some level of growth right now. And again, this is unofficial. That the numbers aren't finalized yet. We are typically on a 6-month reporting period, and that's set by certain national accreditations. But our projections are still looking quite strong in terms of really what one of our KPIs are. And that's students getting jobs in all kinds of different areas. And I've just thrown a bit of a smattering of some of the different titles on here that students are getting at the end of the day. But these kind of span the range from, the different across all those different journeys, all those different career areas I talked about. And again, just a different, random smattering of some of the different career areas that students are finding jobs in at the end of the day. So I've been talking for a bit. Let me turn back over to Meg here. Meg, it looks like the chat has been pretty busy.
Yep.
Let me turn
Thanks.
back over for a little bit.
Thanks, Professor Cleary. So we've covered off on a lot of questions. So since it's been asked a few times, students attending this live session on December 4th, those of you that are here live, will receive an email after this session about an opportunity for an application fee waiver. Our application fee is $100. Please think about the application fee as an investment in yourself. And your future career trajectory and possibilities. But for those attending live, we'll be sending you an email after this session for next steps in regards to earning an application fee waiver, as long as you submit your application no later than January 1st. We had some questions about assistantship opportunities and scholarships. Our scholarships are merit-based. So anything that you're submitting for admissions consideration are what is reviewed for scholarship consideration as well. The priority deadline for scholarship consideration is January 15th. If you've already been admitted to the MIS program, we will probably have some scholarship decisions out by the end of this month, but we're also going to be looking at applications that come in by January 15th for scholarship consideration as well. Those scholarships range from $2,000 to $5,000. However, many of our students also work on campus to offset our very competitive tuition. So students can apply for assistantships and on-campus work opportunities through the university's Career Design Center. Most of those opportunities are posted closer to the beginning of the semester. So some will be posted over the summer, some are posted closer to the start of fall. Another benefit of you starting classes in early July is that you're on campus to be able to visit offices, apply for those positions as they're coming through, and also be here to interview in person. So that's another benefit. So we have a lot of students that have assistantship positions or on-campus work. Those are posted through our university's Career Design Center. And once students are admitted to the program, their applicant portal becomes an admitted student portal, which provides a lot of links to helpful resources on campus. Somebody had asked about co-ops during the program. So Professor Cleary covered this earlier in the slide. So this session's being recorded, so I encourage you to watch it later. But students have the option to complete a certification over the winter session, or they can extend into a second summer to complete an internship. So there is that opportunity if you extend into the second summer. We had a lot of questions, Professor Cleary. I'm going to ask you to answer this on they've submitted applications. When will they receive an admissions decision? So I can advise that applications are reviewed every 2 to 3 weeks. So it's highly likely you'll receive an admissions decision prior to the date noted on the website. But I'm going to turn it over to Professor Cleary to provide a little more detail on that.
Yeah, sorry, I was trying to cherry pick some of the questions in the chat here. So the question was, when do you receive an admissions decision?
Yes.
Yeah, so I had just thrown that in the chat. I usually will go through applications about once a week. Meg is usually pretty good at keeping me honest with making sure I keep an eye on those, but usually about once a week I go through and on a rolling process, I'll admit students each week. Or I'll make admissions decisions each week.
Thank you. So again, don't be stressed out if it's like, oh my gosh, I submitted it a week or two ago, I don't have a decision. Don't be stressed. You will likely receive a decision earlier than the decision notification date. On the website, as Professor Cleary mentioned, we're a competitive program. So applications are viewed holistically, and he really puts the time in to review every aspect of your application. So we're excited about your applications and your interest in the program, and we'll be as transparent as we can as you move through the process and receive a decision. Class size. Okay, that's been answered. Um, yes, there is a enrollment deposit required for this program. So anyone that's admitted is required to pay a $500 tuition deposit to confirm your seat. Additionally, that's applied to your student account. So it's not like we keep that $500. It goes into your student account. Okay. Thanks. Professor Cleary is doing a great job. Answering these questions too. So I think we're caught up. I just got a direct question. Can the GRE be waived since you have experience? So I mentioned earlier, we are test optional. We do not require the GMAT or GRE. So you do not have to submit that as part of an admissions material. If you have a strong score, you're absolutely welcome to upload that score report. No, you do not need a test score to stand a chance for assistantships. All of our programs are test optional. So it's rare that students are even uploading scores. If you've already taken a GMAT or GRE, you have a strong score, upload it. It cannot hurt. But I will say if you've taken it and you didn't do well, probably not in your best interest to upload that to your application. Okay, so the offer letter is about admission only. It has details on when you need to arrive on campus, when you need to pay the deposit, some next steps, links to our admitted student portal. So scholarship letters come separately, and then assistantship and on-campus employment, you need to apply for those through our university's career design website. School of Management students have another benefit of having access to 2 career centers. You have a dedicated career advisor. His name is Kevin Thomas in the UB School of Management's Career Resource Center that you'll hear called the CRC, but you also have access to the university's Career Design Center where you can post your resume, search for jobs. There's 2 different platforms for job search. Oftentimes you'll see similar positions, but sometimes there's definitely different positions. So you have access to 2 career centers. We do require an English language proficiency report for admissions consideration for international applicants. There is waiver criteria that's noted on the website, but most common exams that are submitted are the TOEFL, the Duolingo, and the IELTS. Those are the most common. The minimum IELTS score is a 6.5 overall score. The minimum TOEFL score for the university is 79, but I will tell you the majority of our applicants score 90 or above. It's not required, but most of our students are scoring 90 or above. And then the minimum Duolingo score or DET score is 120. Okay, full cost of attendance. I noted that in the chat. I'm going to put it in again. For New York State residents, tuition and fees are $19,058. Non-resident tuition and fees are estimated at $36,178. And you can find that information on the program website and also go to our student accounts website for additional information. International students are also required to submit a UB financial form and supporting financial documentation. Those are not required during the admissions process. The earlier you can upload those, the better, because it gets your I-20 process started after you receive an admissions decision. But we know most of you are still waiting for that admissions decision to upload those documents, but earlier the better. Yes, ChatGPT. Completely agree with Professor Cleary. Use it sparingly. I mean, we review thousands of applications. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm raising my real hand, not my digital virtual hand here. Yeah, and guys, you will hear this a lot that once you come to one of the worst things that has happened in higher ed is Chat GPT or generative AI. Generative AI is a phenomenal, and we encourage its use for things like brainstorming, doing research, but only as a secondary source of evidence. Because of the hallucination rate, it's just as likely to say really wonky things. Our detection tools have gotten really good at flagging sentences structured with ChatGPT right away. The problem is if you use it to kind of beautify your language or just clean up your grammar, to us, it's going to look just like you used it to write your full letter and you just put a single prompt in there that said, write me a grad school cover letter. That's why you need to be careful. And that's what I'm going to be deducting points on. It might seem novel and original to you guys, but guys, when you've read thousands of homework assignment submissions and you're pretty easily able to pick out what sounds like, looks like Chat GPT at the end of the day. If you take the easy road out, that's going to show. Part of what we're looking for during this application process is the effort you put into it. Because what that tells me is if you're putting effort into the application process, you're also going to put effort into being a good student at the end of the day. So I would never want to um, disincentivize or like kind of push to the side the contemporary tools that are out there, of which LLMs are a great tool. But use them for what they're meant to use them for. Use them for their strengths. It's okay to have a discourse with an LLM and brainstorm some good ideas it might be to add. Write it in your own words. It is going to help you as an applicant at the end of the day. Another question I got is, and I it was good enough that I want to discuss it out loud, is look, I'm a student that maybe I don't have as many technical chops. What can I do to prepare? The short answer is you don't need to worry. We will prepare you. Part of what we do, we have classes in Python. We have classes that will teach you um, um, structured query language and databases and things like that. But that said, if you want to get a little bit of a head start, it doesn't hurt to maybe look at some different Python resources, to maybe look at a few YouTube videos or a few quick tutorials on how to write structured query language. That's just going to help you with some of your first classes when you come in here. I have a bunch of different Python resources that I recommend. And if you guys reach out to me separately, I'll put my email address in the chat here. I'm happy to share those Python resources with you. And so short answer is, like I said, you don't need to stress too much about, doing all this prep from a technical perspective. But if there's some things you want to hit the ground running with, structured query language and knowing something like Python, just even very, very lightly, are probably the top two I would recommend.
Awesome, thank you. Also with your SOP, we say 700 words. We don't word count, but a paragraph is too short, 3 to 4 pages is too long. So, just keep it concise. We want to know your short-term and long-term career objectives and how the UB MSMIS program is going to help you reach them. So it behooves you to list the University of Buffalo and not another school in your essay, because we've seen that happen before. It's not a good look. And also just talk about the highlights of our program. I mean, we're sharing so many today. You can find stuff on the website. I want to put in another plug for our awesome student ambassadors. If you haven't reached out to them, make that a next step. Be sure to reach out to them to learn about their experiences in the program. They also do office hours, so you can reach out to them on our website, or you can also register and attend office hours that they sponsor. And I'll put in another plug on December 16th. At 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we're actually going to be having an MIS Student Ambassador webinar where we're going to be having 2 of our student ambassadors talk about their experiences in the program and projects and things they do in Buffalo. So you'll get more information on that in the coming few days, but that's a good next step to join us on that as well. Again, merit-based scholarships. I keep getting this question privately. Anything you submit for admissions consideration is what's considered for our merit-based scholarship opportunities. The priority deadline to apply is January 15th for scholarship consideration. If you've already applied or you've already been admitted, we expect we'll have some decisions out by the end of this month, but the majority of the decisions will probably go out by the end of January. Definitely encourage you, if you can submit your financial form and financial supporting documents, if you've been admitted or you're in process, do that earlier than later, because it takes about 3 to 4 weeks for your I-20 to be processed after we receive those, and we don't want to hold you up with getting your visa. So it behooves you to do that earlier as well. The application deadline for the fall semester. So our next deadline is January 15th. And when we say deadline, everything has to be in the application fee, all required admissions materials. So our next deadline is January 15th. Our final international applicant deadline is March 1st. And then we'll have another deadline for domestic students, which is June 1st. Yes, and our merit-based scholarships are, any applicant is considered for those. Doesn't matter if you're domestic or international, merit-based scholarships are, everyone's considered. Every application that is in by January 15th is considered for merit-based scholarships. Okay, so somebody got an admit but didn't receive the formal offer letter. I guess, Nikita, feel free to email me about that, because if you got the admit, you can log into your portal to view the decision letter. We offer the recommendation of admission, and then it goes to the Office of International Admissions to verify your documentation and then release a formal admit. So you'll get that official admit from them. But there shouldn't be any holdup if you've already gotten the recommendation letter from us. The deadline to accept the offer is May 15th. Although we definitely encourage you to submit your tuition deposit, which is $500, earlier the better. It just helps you plan. We also have a lot of upcoming admitted student webinars, admitted student messaging. So we really just want to engage you with the community as early as possible. So the earlier the better to submit to confirm your seat would be ideal. We do not require a transcript evaluation. We have a processing team that reviews transcripts and converts to a 4.0 US scale. We also calculate work experience. So no, you do not need to submit an evaluation. If you have a WES or ECE evaluation, you can upload that to your application, but that would be in addition to your transcripts, proof of degree, provisional certificate, not in place of. So if you have it, you can upload it, but it's not required and it does not take the place of your transcripts. Yes, you're able to submit the UB financial form and financial documentation after you receive an admit. You don't need to submit those for admissions consideration. Those documents will not review, but we encourage you to upload those as soon as possible.
One thing I want to say in terms of scholarships and the time by which you apply, I will be looking fairly soon to make the first decision on scholarships. And so while we do hold some in reserves and try to stagger a little, there's some first mover advantage to getting your app in, done, and on time, because that's when I'm going to start making the scholarship decisions pretty soon.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, there's a question about city of birth. That's generally, that's blank on your I-20. So we're filled in on your I-20, so that's fine. And admission number fields, it should be fine. It's off, the I-20s are issued by your Office of International Admissions, but feel free to follow up with me after this if you have additional questions on that. But it seems like everything is okay on that. Scholarship information is not mentioned in the offer letter. The offer letter is only for admissions decisions, but as Professor Cleary stated, we'll probably have some decisions, scholarship decisions going up by the end of the month. It's a separate letter. You'll get a separate letter. It actually comes from my email account for scholarships. So that is not the same as the offer letter. Admissions offer first, then scholarships after that. I put my email in chat, so if you have any specific additional questions, feel free to email me and I can respond to those as well. But feel free if there's other questions. We have a few more minutes, so go ahead and type them into the chat. We're really excited. The placement rate looks great, as Professor Cleary mentioned, for our class. Those will be officially posted on our Career Resource Center website in January. So we'll be sharing those once they're posted as well. What makes a good candidate for scholarship consideration? I will ask Professor Cleary to address that.
So being academically strong, showing some progression in your professional experience, and qualitatively just how genuine and moving we think your statement of purpose, your cover letter is.
We had a question about size of the cohort. So I'm sorry, average class size, we addressed that earlier. It's generally 20 to 50, not larger than 50. If you're getting emails regarding documents needed for I-20, yes, we send you a lot of emails. Actually, we're sending them every 5 days because it's really important to upload those I-20 materials. So we want to send you reminders. We don't want you to forget about it because we want to make sure that you have enough time to get your I-20. Again, it can take up to 4 weeks after you've submitted all of those I-20 documents to get your I-20. It's issued digitally. So when your I-20 is available, you'll get an email that you log into your portal and you'll be able to download it from your portal. But we send those reminders because we want to make sure that you're on track and you get those materials in so your I-20 can be issued so you have plenty of time to secure your visa prior to the start of classes. Classes begin in early July and in your acceptance letter is the arrival date. There is not a late arrival for summer. So the date in your acceptance letter is the date you have to arrive by.
Meg, I had a question. I've actually had 2 direct messages asking me to go a little deeper into some of our cybersecurity initiatives,
Okay.
and what those outcomes look like for grads. When we look at the top growing areas of in-demand space and in demand to the point where we have a supply and demand issue, where there's more demand for cybersecurity jobs than we have supply for globally. Um, and so our cybersecurity program here, so I'm a former CISO, and that was my professional life before I came on full time as a professor with School of Management. And so when we consider cybersecurity, we actually look more holistically at it, and we actually call it information security. We are not only looking at the technical controls, the fancy blinking lights, the ones and zeros, the networks, the packets, and all that. We do study that, but we also consider more holistically, well, what does our risk management program look like? We look at the role of governance. We look at the role of compliance. And so when we look at, the portfolio of classes that we have within our cybersecurity area, we focus on areas such as cloud security, forensics. We have a cybersecurity analytics class. We have our cybersecurity privacy ethics class, which frankly is popular across the board. Pretty much the entire School of Management and a lot of engineering all are kicking down the door to get into that class as well. We have our information security and assurance class, which really focuses on a lot of the technical controls. We have a hands-on lab called system security, which is you're in a classroom, but it's pretty much 3 hours of an on-hand lab session where you're logging into VMs, doing all kinds of stuff. Something else we also have, and we partner a lot with computer science on these initiatives. But we also have a government scholarship called the Cyber Scholarship for Service, offered through the NSF. And so that is a government funded scholarship that'll fund your education for a year to 2 years. We have, we also in this space, which is fairly unique to most graduate programs, there's not really a concept of a minor in a grad program, but in the case here at UB, we have something called our Advanced Certificate in Cybersecurity. And so for students, and there's nothing really extra that MAS students need to do for this. You just need to take the right electives, which we can advise on. Assuming you take the right electives, you get this extra little annotation on your transcript that says you've also completed this advanced certificate in cybersecurity. And it's really one of the only programs that we have that optional or that option for. And so we have a lot of depth in the things we do. One of the things I'm experimenting with next semester is doing a cybersecurity clinic to get some experiential hands-on opportunity for students to do live risk assessments and control assessments at actual organizations in the Buffalo area. And so I don't know if that, hopefully that answers some of your guys' questions, but that's some of our coverage in the information security, cybersecurity space.
Thanks, Professor Cleary. We had a question about somebody asking to extend the program from 11 months. So as I mentioned, the program is designed to be 11 months. You start in the summer in early July, then you're done in May, unless you're extending through that second summer to complete an internship, although you can complete in May if you do the certification over the winter semester. It's designed that way to get you into the job market with other graduates. So it cannot be extended. Students take 6 credits in the summer, 12 credits in the fall, 12 credits in the spring. So, and then that 1 credit certification in the winter or internship in the summer. So it's purposely designed to be 11 months. Definitely encourage you to reach out to some of our current student ambassadors about their experience. But Professor Cleary, is there anything else you want to add in addition to that?
No, I'm just trying. A lot of you guys are getting at me with DMs here. I'm just trying to get through all of that. I have a class. How many days per week our class is typically held? Class is typically 2 days a week. For a single class, it's usually 2 days a week, hour, 20 minutes at a stretch. Over the summer, it's 2 days a week, 2 hours, 40 minutes at a stretch.
Okay, so we had, oh, go ahead.
We also, something else I want to point from the generative AI space. I mean, this is an area where we're very quickly evolving in. Unlike, you have to be careful, for gimmicky things and buzzwordy things, especially in this industry. And so what we did here at the university was we made sure that if we were going to build anything around generative AI, that we built it the right way. And so that's reflected in a few of our electives. We also have an AI for Business Center that's opening up, and two of our faculty members within our area is kind of heading that up. And so there will be growing opportunities in the generative AI space as well. What I want to warn you guys on is, even if UB isn't the right fit for you, I hope it is, but even if UB is not the right fit for you at the end of the day, be careful of gimmicky stuff. Be careful of buzzwordy stuff. Be careful of anything that has the word boot camp or accelerated program in it, because typically something you try to do quickly doesn't work out well. And that's just a lesson for life, let alone some of these curricular opportunities. And so, like I said, we're an honest program, and I feel as though we have a good quality and good integrity about us. And so we are growing that out the responsible way, and we are having enhanced options in the generative AI space.
Awesome. Thanks so much. There's a couple questions. So a student received the admit. So again, you'll receive an acceptance letter from us saying that we are recommending your admission to the university. Then once you upload your I-20 documents, your materials go to the Office of International Admissions to verify all the materials, issue your I-20. That is when your UBIT and person number are generated, and you'll also receive the tuition deposit link. You won't get that until you upload your I-20 materials, and that can then take about 2 weeks to get that after you upload those I-20 materials. So if you're not receiving your UBIT or your person number, that's why. Give it at least 2 weeks after you upload all of your I-20 materials. So I had a question, is a UB team visiting India? So actually, Supriya Nayak is our in-person country recruiter located in India. She's doing some QS fairs this week and next week in some cities. She's also hosting receptions in various cities. So I put that into the chat. You can visit our portal and register for some of those upcoming receptions. They're smaller receptions, and we will have some alumni at some of those cities as well. Okay, placement specifically for an engineering information systems program. Well, this is a management information systems program, so we can really only talk to our placement stats for the MS and MIS program. If you're interested in engineering courses, you'll want to email gradeng@buffalo.edu. Let's see. I think we've addressed all of the questions in the chat. And we're just about at 10 o'clock. So with that, again, I want to put a plug in. If you haven't reached out to one of our MIS student ambassadors, be sure to do so. You can contact them on our website and then also register to attend some of their ambassador office hours. We will have a webinar with student ambassadors on December 16th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So look for more information on that in the coming days. If you're an admitted student, we'll be having some admitted student events starting next Wednesday, and you'll be getting additional information on that. If you haven't already gone to the Career Resource Center website, definitely do that. The resources you can access now are pretty awesome. And then as an admitted student, I mean, it's phenomenal, the opportunities that you have. But the Career Resource Center website has a really great resume template. It's an MS resume template. So if you're an admitted student, you can get a head start on updating your resume to fit the MS CRC resume guideline. Information about on-campus housing and off-campus housing is on our website. So there's a link on our website for housing. I think it's actually housing.buffalo.edu. But definitely reach out to some of our student ambassadors about where they're living as well. I think that's a great question for them. And then additionally, admitted students, we will provide more information on campus resources. Also, our Office of International Student Services, which is ISS, they do a lot of wonderful pre-arrival sessions. So they're all virtual, but if you can't attend a live session, they're all recorded. Housing is one of the sessions as well. MIS placement stats. So Professor Cleary covered that a little bit earlier with a lot of great detail. So again, this webinar is being recorded, so you'll be able to watch it in full in about 1 week. I'll be sending it to everyone that's attended. Yes, I'll be sending out an email for how you can register for the December 16th webinar in the next day or so. So look for that in your email as well. Thanks again for your interest. With that, I'm going to turn it to Professor Cleary to close us out today.
It was great meeting all you guys digitally as much as you can meet somebody through comments on a screen and a bunch of little squares with your name on it. The progression and the bookends of this are interesting, and is always one of the most rewarding things for me to see students kind of go from a name on an application or a square on a Zoom screen to then being an applicant, to then being admitted, to then seeing you guys the very first day of summer, to ultimately seeing you walk across the graduation stage. And I can tell you that year goes by fast. It's going to go by faster than anybody realizes. And so thank you, everybody, for your time today. This takes a lot of bravery to do this. I mean, this can be a scary, imposing thing, especially for international students. I know I'm traveling to India in beginning of January to teach a class, and I'm terrified of going to a brand new country. And so I get how nerve-wracking and overwhelming this can be, but good things come from that. And so I really hope I see you guys. I start seeing your applications come in, and I start seeing some of you guys for the summer semester, which is going to come up before we know it. Thank you very much.